Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Monica. I like to post anti-MLM and life content. In today's video, I am going to be bringing you some retail horror stories. The reason why I wanted to talk about it is because we are officially in the holiday season, which means holiday shopping. The purpose of this video, of course, this is just opinions, my experiences, and for entertainment purposes only. I will not be sharing names of the places that I worked or the people that are going to be talked about in this video. The reason why I wanted to talk about this topic is because a lot of people lose their patience around the holiday season, especially when it comes to going to a retail location, which is why I do most of my shopping either online or I do Christmas shopping throughout the year. I'll find something that I like for someone and I'll hold it for Christmas. So I just wanted to bring awareness to some of the things that us retail associates have come in contact with. Some of the stories in this video might sound extremely dramatic, but they are things that have happened to me. I'm gonna start off with the one horror story that I tell people almost all the time. And I worked at a local shoe store. It wasn't a local shoe store, it was a franchise. I was a manager there. So we had this woman come in. If you know anything about shopping, there's obviously different return policies for every single store, but predominantly they're all kind of similar, at least the places that I have worked at, besides one. So this woman comes in, she wants to return a pair of shoes. No receipt, no box, no tag, no nothing. Well, the policy was that we needed to have a receipt or we needed to have a tag or something like that so that we could either put it back on whatever card you used, or if you used cash, or we would put it on a gift card if you didn't have a receipt, box, whatever. In order to return something and get a gift receipt or a gift card for it, or store credit, whatever you want to call it, the shoes had to be in a certain condition. They had to be never worn before. It's extremely easy to see when shoes have been worn. There's a difference between them looking like they have been tried on in a store and what they look like if they've actually been worn. So this woman comes in with a plastic bag and the shoes are in it. First of all, I could smell the shoes as soon as she put them on the counter. She told me that she didn't have a receipt, no box, no tag, no nothing. So I told her, okay, well, I would have to inspect the shoes and make sure that they're worthy of a store credit, I guess you could say. And because we could damage shoes out, that was a possibility. We could damage them out, and there was a certain amount of damages that we could have in a certain period of time. I looked at the shoes. They have been worn for years. The style of the shoes, they were something that was trendy years prior to the date that all of this happened. And I told her, ma'am, unfortunately, I can't return these shoes. They had a large gash in the one side. It looked as if she had probably walked into something, like a sharp object, and she kept walking and it just put a giant gash in the shoe. Well, the customer tried to tell me that the gash in the shoe was a defect. And so I tried to explain to her, unfortunately, we can't do anything. Well, I want to speak to your manager. We had a Karen on our hands. And I told her, well, I am the manager. Well, I want to speak to your manager. Really nasty. So at this point, I was like, okay, you know what? I was thinking about returning them and possibly just damaging them out. But now this woman's giving me attitude, so okay. Well, I told her, my manager isn't here. They won't be here for a little bit, or for a couple of days, actually. So the woman decides to proceed to say that I have to return them, that she's not leaving the store until I return the shoes. Thankfully, there was no one in the store, so she wasn't really causing a scene. It was more so just her being blatantly nasty to me. Then I tell her, unfortunately, I can't return the shoes, but if you want to come back when my manager is here, by all means, you can. Call your manager right now and have her come to the store. Well, my boss, my manager, was on vacation. I'm not going to call her while she's on vacation because, one, that's not fair. Two, we're not going to return the shoes. Then the lady got extremely irritated with me. She takes the shoes and looks at them, puts them in my face, and says, "These have a gash in them. You need to return them." And I didn't know what to do in that situation. So I kind of froze for a minute because I didn't know what to do in that situation. I had never been presented with a situation like that before. Then after that, she takes the shoes out of my face and throws them at me. She threw the freaking shoes at me and said that I need to return the shoes. Y'all, I took the shoes, I put them back in the bag, and I told her to please leave. Come back when my manager's here. That was completely and totally disrespectful and completely unnecessary. As if that wasn't bad enough, this woman proceeds to tell me that I am an idiot. I need to go to school so that I can understand how the world works. And it was just, the things that she said were completely unnecessary. I laugh about it now, but in that moment, I was just so taken aback by the fact that, sorry, I have a piece of hair in my face. I was so taken aback by the fact that someone could actually treat another person this way. Well, at the time, I was going to school for my master's, and I brought that up. I was like, you know what? This woman's telling me that I have to go to school to understand how the world works, which is not the case. I think that everyone in this world should work in retail, food service, what else? Anything basically that people look down upon. I really truly think that everyone in this world should work in a job like that for a month, because I think if people actually worked in these jobs, they would understand. And they'd be a little nicer to the people that are actually behind, the counter. So I whipped out the whole, I'm actually going to school for my master's degree, so I do have an education already under my belt, and you do not need to speak to me that way. Well, you need to get a real job, and she just went off. So I told her, because at this point we had customers coming into the store, and I'm not going to be arguing with a customer when I have other customers that are waiting in line, or other customers that need to be tended to because they have questions or anything of that nature. So I told her, ma'am, if you do not leave, I'm going to have to call the authorities, because at this point I have asked you multiple times to leave the store. You are being extremely rude. You've already assaulted me by throwing shoes at me, so please leave. Well, once I said that, she finally left the store. She ended up coming back, and I told my manager about it. I don't remember what actually happened when she came back to the store, but I wasn't there, so I have no idea. I didn't even care to know. Which brings me to, this isn't really retail, it's more food service. I worked at a deli that is a franchise, I guess you could say. Well, it is a franchise, but we're gonna call it a deli. So I worked at this place, and at the end of the night, we would close at 9 o'clock. So at the end of the night, at around between 8:30 and 8:45, we would turn off the heating machines that were for like the meatballs and stuff like that, because we would have meatball parms. So we would turn all of those things off, only because they can't be turned on all night. And we were told by the owners of the store, turn it off between 8:30 and 8:45, depending on if we have customers in the store. Well, it was one of the nights where we knew that customers don't really come in after 8:15. I think it was, I forget, but it was a very consistent time on this specific day that we would turn this machine off. We had a man come in with his wife. He had asked for a meatball parm sandwich, and he wanted a bigger one, and unfortunately we only had enough for the smaller one, and we hadn't de-thawed. The other meatballs have not de-thawed yet at this time, because we took them out a little bit later than we should have, so that's on us. I told him this. I said, unfortunately they won't be ready until tomorrow. We can only provide you the smaller version. What I can do for you is I can give you a discount on another smaller sandwich, because we don't have what you want. He got really, really, really upset with that because he was adamant on having this meatball parm sandwich. So he started to cause a scene. It was to the point where one of the other girls that was working had already picked up the phone to call the authorities because we were honestly scared. He started screaming. He was in our faces. He had actually like not climbed over the counter, but he was like almost over the counter. He was a pretty tall man. Very, very scary too. I'm not gonna lie, it was very scary. In our faces, the wife is not doing anything. She's basically provoking him or instigating him to continue to yell at us. And we had asked him, we said, sir, please leave the store because we're not going to be spoken to this way. We already are going to be calling the authorities because we're honestly afraid of you. I was the oldest one that was working at the time on this shift. Well, once we said that, people get really scared when you say that. And it's when you're afraid for your safety, then I think that it's warranted to be able to call the authorities. Because he was a very, very big and bulky man. He could have honestly hurt us, and he looked like he was really, really, really going to climb over that counter. Well, he finally decides to leave in a big uproar and flings the door open. It was one of those like typical glass doors. Flings the door open. The door actually did break. He was yelling outside in the parking lot and everything like that. And all of our cars were in the parking lot. So we had actually called the owner of the building or of the franchise. We had called him and said, hey, can you come down here because there's a guy that's outside. He's really, really upset that we didn't have meatballs. And we're honestly afraid to leave. Well, we had to wait for the owner to come in, and he waited for us to go to our cars. Thankfully, the man, I guess he knew that we were closing at 9, and as soon as he saw our owner or the owner of the franchise pull up and then wait by the door, I think that's when he understood that we had already called someone, so he can't harass us in the parking lot. So of course, some of these stories are going to sound so dramatic, but these things have actually happened. Another thing, this is not like a scary thing. This story is more so just to explain why I'm telling people be nice this holiday season to the retail associates that you see. This one time that I worked at a local mall, if you're from Jersey, you know that we have malls everywhere because that's just how it is. I was working at a very, very well-known apparel and accessories for women store. And during the holiday season, they had this one thing. They didn't have this because I worked at a few different places in the mall. During the holiday season, they had this one, it was a Sunday. They had this one day where they had closed down the mall. After closing hours, they had closed down the mall for an hour. And if you paid, I think it was $20 or something, if you had paid $20, you could come back for this special event that the mall was having. And most of the stores participated. I think there were maybe 3 stores that didn't participate, but most of the stores participated in this particular event. And they gave us an hour time span for the retail associates who needed to take a break because legally some of us had to take a break. So you take a break, and then to prepare the store for this particular sale because we had signage that we had to put up, that sort of thing. Well, after an hour, the doors had opened, and it was like mobs coming into this mall. I did not expect that many people to even know about this event because I had never heard about an event like this. I only heard about it because of the store that I was working at. No joke, you guys. Within the first 10 minutes of the mall being open and the people who came into the store looked like a tornado had hit it. There was clothing all over the place. There were fixtures that were knocked down. There were accessories that were all over the floor. The fitting rooms were completely packed. It was a freaking disaster. It was so bad, and this event was only for, I think it was only for 2 hours. I think it was only for 2 hours. So of course everyone's rushing to get the best deal and everything like that. But it was absolutely insane. After that event was over, it took us, I think it was almost 2 hours. And some of us had to go home because some of us were legally not allowed to work any longer than we had already worked. So some people got lucky and didn't have to clean. I think it was almost 2 hours it took us to clean up that mess. 2 hours. And after we had done all of this, people stole fixtures. Why someone would steal a fixture, but there were fixtures that were missing. There were security tags all over the floor of people that were stealing things. From any other job that I worked at the mall after that, we never had that event again. I think too many stores probably complained about what had happened and how bad it was, because the parking lot was filled of cars, which I'm assuming is going to be all of the people that were at the mall working. There were cars parked there for even after I had left, obviously, because I went to my car and there were still cars there. And I was just so incredibly shocked at how people acted. There were women who were pulling clothes out of each other's hands. I can't believe, I had never seen anything like that before. I didn't know that people were capable of something like that. They were legitimately acting like animals. If you have ever seen the movie Mean Girls, whenever Lindsay Lohan's character goes back to when she lived in Africa and all of the people turn into animals, that is what these people looked like. That is what it was a madhouse. It was so bad. There are so many other stories I can talk about, but those are the three that I really wanted to talk about in this particular video. And the reason why is because it's just to show you that if you are one of those people that is shopping this holiday season, please be patient. I know that the lines are long. Trust me, we as retail associates, because I've worked multiple different jobs before, obviously, you guys know if you have been watching this channel for a while. But please understand that there's nothing we can do. If someone is on their break, they legally have to be on that break. So we can't just tell someone, hey, can you just hop on? Especially if they're under a certain age, they legally have to take breaks at specific times. They cannot work a minute over because the company can get in a lot of trouble. I understand that it sucks. The lines are horrible. I get that. But please, please have a little bit of patience, because these are people who are working crazy, crazy hours. These are people who are working until 2 o'clock in the morning, if not later, and then having to come in to open the store at 6 o'clock because of holiday hours. So if people look tired, if they look frustrated, I really can't speak for every single retail associate. I'm only speaking from my experience. There were days where I was so exhausted that I probably looked like a miserable human being, but I tried really hard to, be able to bring the best experience that I possibly could. To this day, I still cannot listen to Christmas music. My mom loves Christmas and she loves Christmas music. She's one of those people who is obsessed with Christmas. If it wasn't, she actually wants to turn my old bedroom in the house into her Christmas room, because it is the time of year that she's so happy. Whereas me, my tree does not go up until after Thanksgiving. I do not listen to Christmas music. I can't, because it just brings flashbacks of all of the craziness that happened in retail. I worked in retail for 10, if not more years. And in between there, I also had multiple other jobs working at restaurants, food places. So I get it. I totally get it. I'm back in retail, but this is our own business. So I make my own rules and I have fun with it because of the industry that we're in. But this is just to spread awareness, to be kind to everyone this holiday season. Be nice to the people who are waiting in line. Please be patient. And just be nice to the retail associate, because they probably had, before you, they probably had multiple people, several people who were nasty to them and said something really unnecessary to them. So just remember that this holiday season. And I guess that's all that I have for you guys today. If you have watched up to here, thank you so much for watching. This is Monica reporting to you live from a highway. Bye.